Guys, welcome back to my channel. I want to speak on something very briefly. It's about isolation. When you isolate yourself from people, different things can happen depending on where you are in your life. Biblical also talks in the Bible, it talks about being isolated is a bad thing at times. But also I want the other side to be known also, that isolation is a part of the process. You have to be isolated, especially in the beginning or maybe in the middle or even at the end. Because in order to come into yourself, in order to have that relationship with God, there has to be a point where you're isolated. There has to be a point where it's just strictly focused on God. That's why Scripture talks about, Paul talks about in Corinthians, sometimes it's great, it's good for a man or a woman to be single, because you can spend more time doing the Lord's work. That means you can just have that relationship with God. And even in different scriptures, we see points in time with Moses where he had to be isolated. And that's where he was able to have their relationship with God. It was a point where Jesus, every time he came to the people, he always left to be isolated so he could have that moment with God. So I want you to know isolation is a part of the process. And yes, there are moments where isolation works against you. It's not good for you. Especially if you're dealing with something or something terrible, we feel like we need to be around people. But we have to learn to call out to God. And when I say call out to God, that means pick up the Bible. That means embrace his ways. Embrace his ways that Scripture talks about, that we can walk in and allow him in our life, because he gives peace. It really does give peace. When you walk out these ways, when you realize walk by faith, not by sight, and when things look ugly, you hear those scriptures, you're like, man, it's ugly, right? You just get a sense, man, it's ugly right now, but I'm gonna keep walking by faith. God said that times like this will come. God says that this is all a part of the process, so I'm gonna keep walking in faith, believing in God's word, that all is going to come to pass, and I'm gonna be in a better place. See, that's what it means. Just call out to God, and that means his word. It means stand on that word, believe in that word. I promise you guys, this is a blueprint of life. It's just trying to show you the things that hit you. God is shedding light on it, and he's showing you how to deal with it. So I say to you guys, don't be scared of isolation, because at times isolation is just a opportunity to be with God, understand his ways so you can be stronger in them and walk in them stronger. Me, myself, that's like something that I always loved. See, me, I grew up, my brothers, they were already out the house by the age of 16 and 18 years old. So pretty much it's like I grew up by myself, or I grew up as the only child. But at the end of the day, I've grown to learn and love my time alone, because I realize how valuable it is. I realize you can get a lot done, and I realize my relationship with God has strengthened, because I'm able to stay focused for long periods of times without any distractions. If you got people in the house with you all the time and you want that alone time, it's tough. You can't really get it like you want to. So I want to tell you, isolation is part of the process. So even if you're married, even if you have kids, even if you have a brother and sister, or you're still living with your parents, still find time to have isolation where you can just be with God. Not isolation to do what you want to do, to go. Isolation is not designed for that. When you're in isolation, that means you need to become one with yourself. Just as Jesus, he went into isolation 40 days and 40 nights to be tempted by the devil. You have to be in isolation to become one with yourself, so you can hear from God, understand who you are, get a vision, get an idea of what you're supposed to be doing in life. Now you can go back out. That's how Jesus did. Now he went back out to the people and was able to do his thing, but he always came back to isolation. So I just want to impart that message on you guys. Don't be afraid of isolation. Don't feel like because you're by yourself, you're going crazy, you're bored. No, you're just not using your time wisely. And when you're isolated, seek God. Talk to God. Listen to yourself. Understand his ways. Learn to walk in them. Build yourself up. Build a potential up that you're of who you are and who you were born to be. That's all I got for you guys today. I just want you to know I love you, and I want you to continue pushing forward, continue doing good, because embracing the struggle is where the growth is. Later on, guys.